And we kick off this evening with a look at the cinema.
I'm not a complicated man. I like cinema.
It's beautiful, beautiful cinema.
Cinema history come to life.
I found my solace in the small cinema I went to every Thursday night.
I'm a professor of cinema.
I go to the cinema for the stories.
There was no competition between the cinema and seminar.
I mean, it's not within the realm of conventional cinema.
And now,
here's Pace and Johnson
with a cinema review.
It is Monday, February 2nd, 2026, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Cinemaster's Reviews. Guys, we made it. We are out of January. It felt like it was 7 months long. We're only 1 month into the year. Still very excited to be talking movies with you guys. Also, if you watched the Video Store awards last night, a really fun show that Mike and Nazario put on, there were some reports that I was dead. No one told me, and personally, there are certain days where I wish I was like that. But no, I'm still alive. I'm here every Monday to review movies. That was a joke, everyone. I'm doing just fine. But no, I'm. I am so sorry, everyone. I don't know what happened there. My computer just sort of shut me out, but we're going to chug on along as always. Yeah, as I was saying, we have two exciting reviews for the week, that being Send Help and Shelter. I say we jump right into the show this week, starting with our first review of the night, that being Send Help. This is the latest from iconic director Sam Raimi, probably most well known for being the director of the first three Evil Dead movies, as well as the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films, as well as a bunch of other films, Drag Me to Hell, Quick and the Dead, Darkman, a lot of other great movies there that he's known for. He's known for being a very low-budget indie filmmaker, but we'll get into that. This movie follows a woman by the name of Linda Little. She is in the planning department at the company she works for, and the CEO that works for that company has just passed away, and Linda is looking forward to a nice, juicy promotion that she was told she was going to be getting the vice president role. However, the CEO's son, played by Dylan O'Brien, doesn't really like her. He just finds her weirdly disgusting. He doesn't like all the little quirks that Linda has. Very rude to her, and she ends up getting passed over for this promotion. But then wouldn't you know it, while on a plane trip to, I believe, Italy is where they are going for a business meeting, a giant plane crash ends up happening, and Linda and Bradley are the only two survivors on the island. Bradley ends up breaking his leg, and now suddenly Linda's obsession is now officially turning out to be in her favor. And how does the power dynamic switch now that Linda is the boss on the island and Bradley is now the meek, pathetic servant to her? Sam Raimi is a director I really, really love. I love the Evil Dead movies. I love the Spider-Man movies. I love a bunch of other movies he's done. Haven't loved everything he's done. Was not a big fan of Oz the Great Powerful. Don't like Crime Wave. But for the most part, I really like when Sam Raimi is making a horror movie like this, specifically when Sam Raimi is given a very small budget and just given limited tools to make something that is thrilling and engaging. And I feel like that is what we get here. So rarely do we get directors who made it to the blockbuster hemisphere with that Sam Raimi did with the Spider-Man movies and with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And then you have a director like him deciding to be like, you know what? No, I want to come back to the mid-budget, even lower budget studio system, because movie was made for $40 million, way bigger than like the Evil Dead movies were, but still, this is a pretty lower budget compared to a lot of movies we get nowadays. And you just see Sam Raimi as a creative filmmaker, just seeing how many creative and unique things he can get from that small amount of money of just seeing these two characters on this island just trying to survive. And I think Sam Raimi does a lot with that. This movie is very bloody. This movie is very thrilling at points. You get a lot of humor from it. And I think that like shabbiness of the film and like the whole do-it-yourself mode of the filmmaking really just adds a lot of character to what we are seeing. Rachel McAdams feels so perfectly cast as the awkward yet endearing Linda. At first, I was a little perplexed why she was cast as this character that all the people she works for views as like very unattractive, very uncool, like almost too nerdy. And I was like, really, have you seen Rachel McAdams? She's like one of the most beautiful women alive. How are all these people ignoring her? But I think the movie does a great job of showing in the setting that she is in, working with all these like tech bros and elite douches. None of them are going to give her the slightest bit of attention, at least in terms of positive attention, because a lot of them do make fun of her because they just find little things that she annoys them by doing. But no, when Rachel McAdams is in the first half of the movie, she does a very good job of acting very meek and just acting very like out of her element. But then when you do get to the island, she doesn't drop this persona of like, she still's a little weird, she still feels a little out there, but aggravating. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. I do not know what is happening with my stream. I really hope that doesn't happen again. But yeah, I really love what Rachel McAdams brings to this character that could be seems like it's going through a little bit of like a simple arc, but she adds a lot of fun to it. Dylan O'Brien is an actor, got his start in the Maze Runner movies, but I think he's grown to be a really unique filmmaker, screen presence, taking parts that seems like they would be a little bit out of his comfort zone. Obviously, those Maze Runner movies, I think they're actually better than a lot of the other films that we were getting towards those times. But and while he was fine in those, I think recently, I think we really started to see how talented of an actor he really is. I think he was really good in Saturday Night playing Dan Aykroyd. I heard he was really great in Twinless, and I think he's really great here as just this guy that just comes off as just completely unlikable and just completely just in no way do we want to root for this guy because he's so unkind to the people he works for. The second he shows up, you can just see the silver spoon that is just protruding out of his mouth because he comes from such a place of privilege, even to the point where like when these two characters first land on this island, and in no way does he have the power. Linda has the power in every single way. He can't feed himself. He can't walk. Yet he still truly believes like, man, you better not be rude to me because when we get back to the office, you are going to be getting fired. And to the point where like his first moment of acquiescence is just like, okay, I guess if we do end up surviving a couple days, I will have to give her a promotion. And he's just so like locked into like, he feels like he's still at the office when like it's so far past that. And Dylan O'Brien brings a lot of comedy to it. There's one scene in particular, I don't want to spoil it, but it is both a very disturbing scene, yet a very funny scene at the same time, where all the acting just comes from just Dylan O'Brien's eye reactions and just how scared he is. And you see just how like how much this guy is just willing to be the pathetic butt of the joke. And I thought both Dylan O'Brien and Rachel McAdams do a really great job at that. Movie is not afraid to get bloody, and the blood feels real. One of my big nitpicks in movies nowadays is when you do have CGI blood. Sam Raimi says to hell with that. All the blood in this movie is practical, which is good because there are a lot of scenes where there are a lot of just characters dying all the time. You see just brutal deaths. Bloody deaths, and you see them go through the propeller. I think Sam Raimi does a lot of really creative stuff there. There are scenes where Linda's out in the forest and she's trying to hunt different animals, and she feels like she's in perilous situations. Really fun there. But yeah, it is fun seeing Sam Raimi back in this horror mode, and he gets a lot of really cool stuff out of that. I think Linda and Bradley's relationship on the island in general is very intriguing. Where like, I think everything I've explained about the plot so far, it seems like it would be very simple as, Linda is the person that's been bullied her entire career by this guy. Land on the island, the power dynamics flipped. Yes, that happens, but there are a lot of different layers that this goes on. Without spoiling too much, Linda might not be as easy as a character to root for as you are hoping. I think Sam Raimi does a lot of unique things with that. I think Raimi is a guy that just, he never wants to give you a protagonist, except maybe the Spider-Man films. He never wants to give you a protagonist you are just outright rooting for the entire time. He always wants to add a little bit of an edge to them, a little bit of a layer of darkness. And without spoiling too much, Linda definitely has that. I think by the end, it goes into some very fun places, and remembers that it is a really cool horror movie. Danny Elfman's delivers a very fun score, really like cool, like tropical score with them being on an island. So that is a lot of fun. Gives a lot of like atmosphere through that. And then without spoiling too much, this movie does take a twist towards like the third act, where it just sort of really twists like what you think is going on with the characters. And even then, when that twist happens, when you think, okay, now I got to be rooting for this person, it reminds me, no, you don't. And the movie never gives you like a clear protagonist. I can see that kind of being a bit of an issue for some people. It wasn't an issue for me. Honestly, like this is, I do think the movie's decision to not give you an easy character to root for as the movie goes on is very purposeful. And at the same time, it never gets in the way that you kind of just want to see just wild things happen in this movie, and you're just dying to see like what's going to happen next. And I think it's really fun. I think Sam Raimi just shows he's both a master of horror elements and a master of just keeping an audience member on their seat. And I think he gets a lot of juice out of this idea. If I were to rate this movie on a scale of 0 to 10 videotapes, 0 being absolutely awful, 10 being amazing, I'm going to go pretty high. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. This truly feels like Sam Raimi is back. He has given a script that is just smart enough that he can get a lot of fun ideas out of it. Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien are able to act off each other really well. A lot of funny scenes, a lot of gruesome scenes. Really just does what it's setting out to do. And yep. Okay. There we go. Yeah. As I was saying, we haven't really had like a Sam Raimi movie that feels like a Sam Raimi film since Drag Me to Hell, and this seems like a really nice return to form. This has been one of the better Januaries in a while. If you are able to see this in theater, I would really recommend you see it, because it's going to be a lot of fun. The audience I saw it with was very much like at the edge of their seat the whole time, and I think you're really gonna like it. But I say we jump right into our second review of the night. Hopefully, if my internet connection doesn't, if my computer doesn't crap out on me. Shelter, directed by Rick Roman Wog. This film follows a recluse who's been living on a lighthouse by the name of Michael Mason, played by Jason Statham. He is kind of just sort of like annexed himself from society. And one day, there's this young girl that ends up washing ashore on his lighthouse named Jessie, played by Bodhi Ray Breathnock, he decides to take her in because she has nowhere to go. And slowly we start seeing Michael Mason might be out, might have annexed himself from society for a reason. And some people are trying to find him because, as you learn pretty early on in the movie, he was a part of a disgraced military operation that went rogue, and he has now been hiding out from the people that have been trying to kill him. I enjoy Jason Statham to a point. I think he's made movies that I do really like. I have always been banging the drum for how much fun The Beekeeper was a couple years ago. I think that's like the perfect blend of just stupid action, but also takes itself really seriously that you can't help but be invested in it. Wasn't a big fan of Working Man that came out the next year later. Shelter's a lot different from those two movies where it definitely feels a lot more grounded. And I think having Jason Statham tackle a more grounded action approach is something I'm down for. I enjoyed Wrath of Man when it came out. I think it's another grounded Jason Statham movie. But I think it took me a while to realize, oh, this is not going to be like this explosions galore, gunfire going off every 5 seconds. It's going to be a much more like, I wouldn't say human film, but a much like quieter film and a much darker film than usually what you would get with the typical Jason Statham action film. I genuinely was not expecting to be like this quiet and just to carry like Statham's really trying to push himself as an actor to carry this type of gravitas. I don't think Jason Statham is like an amazing actor, but I think he's a good actor when he knows essentially what his limits essentially are, and he doesn't try to push too far above that. And I appreciate him for trying to take a role where he's trying to take himself just a little bit more seriously than how he has taken himself in the past. Whether it's the Meg movies, which I've never been a fan of, where he's just fighting a giant shark. This movie feels like it is just trying to be a little bit classier than those. Yeah, solid child performance by Bodhi Ray Breathnock as Jesse. Not going to go down as like one of the all-time child performances, but I think when you have a action movie that hangs a lot of its emotional weight on a kid character, I think it can often blow up if you have a weak child actor. I don't think this child actor was weak by any means. If I were to say this movie had one major issue, I think it's the fact that the lighting just felt really, really dark at points. Not even to the point of like, oh, the subject matter feels dark. No, I'm saying like even when we're just in daytime scenes, it feels so foggy and just so murky in all the settings. There are several scenes that take place in the dark where I felt like I couldn't really see the action that was going on. And for an action movie, when you can't see the actual choreography that's happening, it ends up being a very, very annoying experience. And I think that was like the thing that I think is really holding this movie back, of this being a movie that I want to appreciate because I like Jason Statham taking this turn. But I think those lighting issues are just something that I just cannot get past, where it just looks so dull and it just looks so hard to watch at points that it leaves a lot to be desired from a filmmaking perspective. I just want to get into some of the story beats real fast. In this one, as I said, Jason Statham plays a disgraced soldier from a secret society. The main villain is the head of that society that is trying to kill him. We've seen that in so many different movies he's done, like I said, Beekeeper, Wrath of Man, a little bit of Working Man. Nothing in this movie really feels like that original outside of the tone. And as I was watching this movie, I kept feeling like, I feel like I'm experiencing major deja vu because I've seen Jason Statham do these exact same scenes. Specifically, the last scene where he meets the main villain, played by Bill Nighy, felt just like the scene from another Statham action movie. I won't spoil it in case you don't want to know how this movie ends. But watching that, I was like, we've definitely been there, done that, and I couldn't help but get I couldn't get my head around that. At the same time, I feel like Statham is one of those action stars who, like Liam Neeson, like Gerard Butler, has kind of made a brand for himself, where he just makes these 6 out of 10, 5 out of 10, maybe 7 out of 10 films, and you just hope for something watchable. And this, I would say, is probably on the watchable side, so I can't blame it too much. When we do get action scenes, it does feel like it is hitting very hard. I think Statham is just an action star that just knows how to deliver really like well thought out action scenes. And when you do get to see them, like there's one action scene where it's just Statham fighting like two guys, and it ends up being a very hard-hitting scene. I just wish we would have had more of that and maybe just filmed in a slightly more interesting way. If I were to rate this movie on a scale of 0 to 10 videotapes, I'm going to give it a barely passing 6 out of 10. I think this is a decent action film, if not spectacular. I think Jason Statham is trying to push himself in a slightly different angle, and I do applaud that. I just don't think it was the most successful film. I think this is a movie you don't really need to rush out unless you are just dying to see everything like me. This is one you can probably wait for streaming to see. But thank you all for watching this week. Remember to like this video and subscribe to the video store. It helps grow our channel a lot. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I don't know what those were about. Hopefully I can sort those out for next week, because next week we are going to be reviewing Strangers Chapter 3, as well as one other movie. I'm going to have to look at the schedule. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. And as always, watch more movies.
And the award for most vapid film review of the century goes to...
Okay, movie review. Okay, I thought it was beauty.
And he's now in cinema hell, where one day we'll all be reunited.
This is me at the Regal Cinema crying as I did through much of the film.